Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. It is always a good day. We have in the studio our friends from the Alzheimer's Association, San Diego and Imperial Chapter, Janet Hamada Kelley. It has been a day and then some. She is the Executive Director of Alzheimer's Association. We've known each other for quite a while. 4 years since we saw each other last?
I think so. It's nice to see you.
It's great to see you. And how are you enjoying the gig?
It's great. It's a great time to be in this space because there's so much progress, which we'll talk about, I'm sure.
I can't wait to do it. And of course, joined by a longtime friend and colleague. He is the CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union, Doug Wright. Personally, I've known Doug for a long time and professionally as well. And we can't thank you enough for being the great sponsor of our Spotlight show, Doug. Thank you so much.
Yep, happy to be here and love the sponsorship.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we'll start with you, Janet, just for a quick little nickel tour of the mission of the Alzheimer's Association.
Absolutely. So the Alzheimer's Association is a global healthcare organization where we are dedicated to accelerating global research for Alzheimer's and all other dementia, as well as risk reduction and early detection and maximizing quality and support for those who are impacted. Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementias.
Right. And again, we always want to do this at the beginning of the show, and to be clear that Alzheimer's is a part of dementia, and dementia is the overall. Is that correct?
Correct. Dementia is the umbrella, and Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia.
Right. And, we always have to bring this up, too, that Alzheimer's, it's been around for a while, but it's only in recent years, and I mean recent years, in decades or so, that it's been come to the forefront. Is that correct?
Yes, I think there's still stigma around Alzheimer's and dementia, but there's been a lot of progress in the research and just understanding more of the biology as well as the different factors that impact a diagnosis.
Right, and of course, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and is part of it the reason why we see these cases. And thank you, unbelievable researchers that are focused on this, that are moving closer to some definite things that are going to help people that have it. But it's an age thing as well, is it not? The older you get, you're probably going to get it.
Age is a big factor, absolutely. But we're seeing that there are lots of other factors that play a role in this. And so there are lots of lifestyle factors as well as, a lot of environmental things as well.
Right, exactly. And Doug Wright, you've always been a very big fan of supporting this organization. Do you have a personal story why, or do you just think it's a great organization to support?
I think it's a great organization to support, and it's something that our employees really get around too. But yes, I have a personal story as well. Unfortunately, both of my parents suffered from Alzheimer's and the debilitating impacts of it. And so Molly, my wife, and I served as caregivers for a period of time, and just were devastated, as many families are, by kind of the progressive impacts of Alzheimer's. So we're excited to support the organization, but we're also really, really excited about the progress that's being made just in the last few years on slowing down the progression of Alzheimer's, as well as hopefully potentially a cure at some point.
Yeah, I want to talk about this before we get into the numbers that Janet's going to share with us. It's something that is never lost on us, is that there's, at the time, there to be 600,000 plus caregivers in San Diego County, give or take. 300,000 of them look like you and your wife, Doug. I didn't know I was a caregiver until I had to become a caregiver. Mm-hmm. And I know that you work very, very closely with this, Janet, to work with the folks that are now thrust into that role. They've had no training in it and so forth. Talk about that.
Yes. So we often share that, the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia is not a individual issue. It very much is a family and a community issue. It impacts those around the person, especially in that caregiving space. And no 2 days are alike, and no two cases of dementia are alike. And so our role in this space is to really be able to provide the education and resources so families feel better supported and know that they're not alone in this journey.
Right. And there's 7 million folks aged 65 and older that are living with it, 60,000 of them in San Diego, which impacts about 160,000 families with the caregiving and this aspect of it. So, for our listeners who say, yep, I'm in that ball game, or I got to tell you right now, my aunt's uncle's cousin is going to be in that ball game. What advice do you give them to say, contact us? We can tell you how to walk you through some of this?
Yes, so the Alzheimer's Association has many resources. For us, it really is about raising the awareness as well as sharing the education and tools. And so thanks to the support of Mission Fed, especially during the month of Alzheimer's Brain Awareness Month, we're able to really get out into our communities, provide free education, provide support groups, and just give people the tools that they need so that families can come together and know that they're supported and have the resources to navigate this journey.
We're chatting with Janet Hamada Kelley. She is the executive director of the Alzheimer's Association of San Diego and Imperial Chapter, joined by her colleague Doug Wright, president and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. He's got a personal story about Alzheimer's with his parents and, of course, the employees of Mission Fed who are always engaged. And Doug, I always love saying this. You guys are so much above checkbook philanthropy. When you guys get involved, you got a whole army behind you that are going to be involved in that. Talk about how important it is to Mission Fed's ethos.
Yeah, absolutely. We really try to get involved in particularly the organizations that we're really passionate about. We try to get involved much more than just writing a check. So particularly with the Alzheimer's Association, we are a big sponsor of the Brain Awareness Month. We contribute money, but we also really get involved in trying to get out into the community and talk with our community about Alzheimer's and the resources available to people in the community. So we had people from the Alzheimer's Association here for a recent leadership meeting. They did a wonderful job of presenting, kind of the basics of Alzheimer's and what resources are available to people. And that spreads throughout the community because we go out into our branches and wear purple on the longest day of the year and talk with our members about what's happening with Alzheimer's, the hope for the future, but also what people can do right now if they're in that situation or they are a caregiver or know people who are in that situation. So it's really important for us to spread education, help the community, as well as providing direct support to Alzheimer's.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And this happens to be something Brain Day, maybe in Spotlight Show, because later on our docket of guests is Jacopo Onese. He's the president and CEO of the Brain Observatory. So we're going to be hearing from him as well. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 19th year, brought to you by the fine folks at Mission Fed Credit Union, more than 6 decades and doing great things for people living in San Diego County, whether it is food insecurity or whether it's Alzheimer's or whether it's arts or whether it's financial literacy. They are always there shoulder to shoulder with you. Janet, talk a little bit about what the activities have been in June for this Alzheimer's Awareness Month and Brain Awareness Month as well.
We've had a very busy month. So we've had lots of community events. We do education throughout the year, but especially during the month of June, we focused on brain health. And I think when we talk about brain health, it actually broadens our audience a little bit because a lot of people are interested in maintaining good brain health and learning a little bit more about what that entails. So we've actually had several different programs. I'm very proud of our team. We are able to reach over 6,500 individuals in San Diego County this last year. And we also hosted our caregiver symposium this year where we had close to 100 attendees. Now, these are folks that are most likely, most of them are in the thick of the caregiving journey. And so our half-day workshop allowed them to learn about certain topics around caregiving. And again, to be able to have the tools that they need and know really all the community-based organizations and the companies that are in San Diego supporting them through their journey.
So what piqued my interest was brain brain health. I mean, what you can do to support your brain. I'm sure it's on the website as well, but what are some of those activities?
Yes. So we say what's good for your heart is good for your brain.
Yeah.
So these are probably, you've heard it before, getting
Yes.
lots of sleep, maintaining a healthy diet. But a couple of things that we also highlight is socializing. So making sure that you are staying social, that you're interacting with your community and challenging your brain. So not doing what your day to day, but really taking on a new task, trying to learn something new, making sure that you're staying active.
Yeah, as we know, this little thing that sits inside your head controls everything, for God's sake. And so you make a very good point. Well, we think about taking care of the heart, maybe cut down to 15 steaks a day, probably not a good thing, and 2 hours of sleep, not going to be good. But you're 100%, that's a great analogy. What you need to do for your heart, you need to do for your brain and all that. Doug, do you practice some of these things?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to.
You don't have a choice. You're the CEO of a big company.
I try to certainly keep my brain in good shape through keeping my heart in good shape. I try to exercise regularly, watch my diet, although I sometimes fall off that pattern. But also, really try to stay social, try to stay active, talk with a lot of different people, and try to do things like crossword puzzles and things like that stretch my brain. So.
Right, exactly. Janet, does mental health and stress, anybody who's been living in this planet of ours knows that we've never seen the crisis as big in mental health, and it's huge, and certainly many organizations are working to do this. And some of the distressing numbers are the fact of how much it's affecting our kids. That's been going on. Does that have any tie into Alzheimer's at all or dementia?
So there's definitely a connection, right? There are a lot of folks who are experiencing dementia, are experiencing anxiety, depression, lots of symptoms around that. But also, again, the caregivers, the stress, the burnout, the pressures as well of caregiving and still juggling your own life. So they definitely are intertwined. And so we also always say, stress management and making sure that you are working with your healthcare providers to have these conversations so that you're in the best place, especially if you're a caregiver.
Right. And again, as we age older, we age, I guess, now you look at a bazillion 90-year-olds running around. Good. I think that's terrific on it, but it does increase the chance that someone's going to get dementia. That's just the way it is. And of course, you folks are working very hard. Talk about the research aspect of it. As Doug knows, my father was a physician and he practiced in LA, was on the UCLA medical school team and all that. So research, obviously very important. How important is this for Alzheimer's?
Dementia research is critical, and there's been a lot of progress. There's so much momentum building right now. In the last 3 years, we've seen 2 FDA-approved treatments that are addressing the underlying biology of Alzheimer's. So in the past, it was, really supporting and helping the symptoms, but now we're addressing the actual plaque buildup in your brain. And not only that, we're also have seen lots of progress in diagnostics. So the FDA recently approved the first blood test, which will make diagnosis much easier and able to diagnose a lot earlier. So there's a lot of progress and a lot of I would say hope, but also promise on the horizon. Yeah,
I mean, is the goal obviously to end Alzheimer's? And that's a great vision, and everyone should go to that goal, until we get there. Is it also where now you can predict how much of it is genetic, and if you've had it, both your parents had it, Doug. Have you been tested at all for it?
I haven't yet. I think the FDA approval just came recently, so I haven't been tested, but it's certainly something I'd be interested in doing.
Right, and then your daughter as well, and so forth down the line in this aspect of it, which I think is great. Talk before we go to break, Janet. Talk about how you work with just our unbelievable biocom community here in San Diego. Great universities, great institutes. Talk about that.
Yes, we are very fortunate to have such a robust community and ecosystem in this space, and San Diego really is a hub for dementia research. So we are very fortunate that we not only are able to partner with a lot of these institutions to be able to present some of this information to the community, but as an organization, we are currently funding $20 million worth of active research in San Diego. Wow. So us being able to play a role in that way is also very, very transformational.
Right. I find it just like with cancer. Probably impossible to find somebody in San Diego County, 3.3 million or 3.4 million, whatever the numbers are these days, strong, that doesn't have an example of somebody they know or themselves that are directly impacted by Alzheimer's, just like in this aspect of it. So to your point, you got to get on this train. And it is going to have an impact on you if it hasn't already. We come back from break, Janet and Doug, let's talk about the July 15 impact of Alzheimer's on the workplace corporate breakfast. And I want to bring that up to Doug as well, as think about, how it's impacting, the employees of Mission Fed Credit Union. Obviously, they were so geeked up about supporting Alzheimer's. They're in knee deep. And then we always save time, as you remember, Janet, for being on the show many moons ago, that what our listeners can do to support your efforts as well. And Doug, same thing. How do they get behind Mission Fed to support this when we return with Janet Hamada Kelley, Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association San Diego Imperial Chapter, joined by Doug Wright, President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. As you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, we are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by the amazing folks at Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for San Diego County residents. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, chatting with Janet Hamada Kelley, Executive Director of Alzheimer's Association of San Diego and Imperial Chapter, joined by her colleague, Doug Wright. He is the President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union. So we'll start with you on this, Janet, and then we'll pivot over to Doug on this. July 15, the impact of Alzheimer's on the workplace corporate breakfast. It's a mouthful, but it is very important. Talk about that.
Yes, it is our annual event where we are really looking to engage the business community of San Diego, not just to shed light on the impact, individual impact that many of us feel when we are dealing or have a loved one that has been diagnosed, but the impact as a workplace as a whole. And we're really looking at not just at dementia, but also addressing the heavy burden and impact of caregiving in the workplace. So this is a great event. We have a wonderful panel of leaders from around the community that will share their personal stories, but also why it's important to get involved, why it's important for companies and organizations to pay attention to this.
And when's the event going to be? The 15th of July, right?
Absolutely.
Is the public invited?
Yes, it is.
How do they get tickets?
So it is free to register, but registration is required. And so all the information will be up on our website at alz.org/San Diego.
So, Doug, great points brought up by Janet, and that makes all the sense in the world, is that certainly for those folks who are impacted by dementia, that's one case. And the other one is now you've got the employees who are taking care of, like you did, your parents and all that business, and at least till they find some steady ground to do this. How do you guys deal with this at Mission Fed? You guys got a lot of employees.
Yeah, it's really critical, in fact, and when we, talk with community or we look at, partnering with community partners. One of the things we really do is we ask our employees what's concerning to them, or what issues are they concerned about. And Alzheimer's always ranks at the top of that list. So as a result, it's something that we know our employees are struggling with, primarily probably in the caregiver role. Although they're, with early onset, there may be a few that have suffered or experiencing the symptoms themselves, but mostly in the caregiver role. And when you think about the caregiver role, it's a stress on your daily life. It tends to impact what you can do and how much focus you can give to your work. It's also a big financial stress. Alzheimer's treatment is not cheap by any means. And so it creates financial stress for people in the workforce as well as people outside the workforce. And it causes people also to have to sometimes cut back their work responsibilities or go to part-time or quit the workforce altogether. So as a corporate employer, or as an employer in general, we really have to be cognizant of the potential impact on the organization, and more importantly, the people who work for the organization, who are the ones who are really struggling. So we want to do whatever we can to help our caregivers, but we also want to help the organizations that are like the Alzheimer's Association that are really at the forefront of reducing the impact overall, ultimately to the people who have Alzheimer's, but then the caregivers and the organizations and the whole community that suffers as a result of that.
Right. So this July 15 event is really critical for the folks like Doug who run organizations and the employees who are in these organizations. It'll be, again, from 8 to 9:30 at USC Astri. What is that exactly?
USC's Alzheimer's Therapeutic Research Institute.
Thank you very much. On Mesa Rim Road, I want to give a shout out to the Alzheimer's Therapeutic Research Institute for doing the hosting of this breakfast. And I know one of your colleagues, Doug, is going to be on the panel. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Sarah Hernandez is a vice president with our organization and does a wonderful job. She'll do a great job on the panel, and she has personal experience, but she's also really a champion for Alzheimer's Association. She leads our team in terms of the walk program that Janet might mention a little bit later. Sure. The walk happens in October, and she leads her team in that respect. It gets great participation of our people, and I think will be a really wonderful panelist.
Yeah, absolutely. We're chatting with Doug Wright. He's the president and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union, on the credit union's support of the Alzheimer's Association of San Diego Imperial Chapter, joined by Janet Hamada Kelley. She's the executive director of the association. So July 15, a big deal. You mentioned the walk. Janet, talk about that. It's in October, and it's a pretty big one.
Yes, our Walk to End Alzheimer's event is our largest event in San Diego, and we often refer to it as our largest support group. It is open to the community. It is free to register, and we are really inviting everybody in the community who has been impacted or wants to support this cause to join us. There will be about 2,500 of us in Liberty Station in October.
I can't emphasize enough for those folks who either they think they're experiencing some of these issues, or they know that their loved ones or their friends' loved ones are. You have so many resources that people can take a look at it. And the thing that always chaps me a little bit is when the resources are there, whether it's Alzheimer's or it's mental health, or pick a topic, and people don't take advantage of it. I mean, just go ahead on the website. Talk about all those resources you have.
We have very robust offerings as far as resources go. I definitely want to highlight our 24/7 helpline. It is available 24/7 in over 200 languages, and it's monitored and operated by master level clinicians. So whatever the question might be, whether it is a clinical question or something that you need some counsel on because you're currently experiencing something at 3 a.m, our helpline is available for you. And of course, our website. Our website has a full library of all kinds of information based on topics that you might be, experiencing. And as a local chapter, we're really dedicated to raising that awareness in the community. So we have programs throughout the month, whether it's in person or virtual. So lots of opportunities and ways to get your information.
Yeah, so question for you, and we've known each other for quite a while, Jen, and it's so good to see you sitting across finally on the microphone now in your role with the Alzheimer's Association. But what type of metrics do you use? I know you're you believe in data, and that said, I think we're on the right path. We've been doing this and that. Is it the number of volunteers? Is the number of people that you've addressed? Is the number of certainly working with the research? We've now come up with some new things that maybe can slow it down. What type of metrics do you use?
All the above. So we do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And so for us, of course, it's the fundraising dollars.
Right.
We are very proud that, as a local chapter, we raise money in the community, but as being part of a national organization, our impact back into the community, as I mentioned earlier, currently is $20 million in active research, which is a lot more than we're raising locally. So that
Right.
impact is incredible. And then, of course, through our education. We are very proud of the numbers that we're currently hitting, but we still know that there are families out there that are not getting our information, do not have the resources and tools that will make this journey easier for them. So for us, it's all about getting out in the community, no matter, what group you're a part of, what organization you're a part of, and making sure that we're raising that awareness to also lower the stigma around this topic. There are a lot of people that are still uncomfortable talking about it or sharing their personal connections. So our hope is that us being in the community allows people to feel a bit more comfortable talking about it.
Yeah, as Doug has heard me say 4 billion times because he's been guest on the show. I hope I live to the day where Alzheimer's or any type of mental health situation, whether you're on the spectrum or not, is not just a stigma. I really do hope I'm alive when that day happens. Now we're making progress. There's no question about it, thanks to what you folks do and all that. Doug, again, we talked about your personal journey and some of the ones of your staff. What are you most proud of what Mission Fed does to get behind this group?
Oh, absolutely. Probably it's the kind of all-in that we do. Certainly we contribute money, but that's only the first part of it.
Right.
I think what's really inspiring to me is the amount of support we get throughout the organization and the amount of active volunteerism that our people really engage in terms of supporting the Alzheimer's Association and brain health in general, between the walk, between our leadership meeting, between, talking about it in our branches with our members, between talking about it, in the community with other businesses, it's just kind of an all-in support of the organization. And I think that's probably what I'm most proud of.
Right. And then, you folks always have been there, whether it's Alzheimer's or it's education or it's art. You guys are always there supporting it and in force. If nothing else, that's inspiration for other companies to get involved and support as well. Janet, what can our listeners do to support you?
Well, we're always looking for engagement. So for us, as I feel like I've said this many times, it's raising that awareness. So, if you are available or interested in learning more about cognitive decline, brain health, caregiving, please join us at one of our programs. We also have lots of great on-demand resources. So again, we're always available to be able to support you through that journey. We invite everybody to join us at our Walk to End Alzheimer's and our other events in the community. And of course, we're always looking for volunteers. We cannot do this alone. We need everybody's help and support. So we are always looking for active volunteers to help us spread the word and get that engagement across the community.
Yeah, without question. Doug, any final comments?
Yeah, I think, from an organizational perspective, I can't imagine that there's any employer of any size in the San Diego community that isn't impacted either directly or indirectly by Alzheimer's. So just really want to encourage organizations in particular, because it's impacting their employees and therefore probably impacting the organization, whether they're aware of it or not, to really get involved and understand what's happening in Alzheimer's, what kind of progress is being made, how Alzheimer's can support the caregivers and those types of things, because it will have a positive impact on your people and your organization in general.
There's no question about that. Janet, would love to have you come back on. There's so much data you can share with our audience. But without trying to break any HIPAA rules, I don't want to be doing that. If you've got a family that has benefited from the work of the Alzheimer's Association because of the caregiving or whatever, we'd love to have them come on if they're comfortable chatting about it.
Absolutely. Yeah, the number of people that that we interact with that say, we wish we knew your resources sooner,
Yeah.
right? Because you've been able to help us with X, Y, and Z,
Right.
is always very touching. So we'd love to be back.
Consider that a done deal. We've been chatting with Janet Hamada Kelley. She is the Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Association of San Diego Imperial Chapter, joined by her colleague, Doug Wright, President and CEO of Mission Fed Credit Union, who is shoulder to shoulder with the Alzheimer's Association on many different fronts on that. I want to remind people about the July 15 Impact of Alzheimer's on the workplace corporate breakfast. It'll be from 8 to 9:30, and you can find out all information on the Alzheimer's Association website. I'm Drew Schlosberg. I want to thank you for listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, brought to you by amazing people at Mission Fed Credit Union. More than 6 decades. They're doing great things for people in San Diego County, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.